My name's Reunne Green. I'm a fashion designer. Graduated this summer. I've been studying fashion for quite a long time. And during that journey, I have explored different aspects of fashion and what I like to do and sort of stretching what I can do. And I quite like doing unisex work. I quite like designing things that everyone can wear, and I like playing with that idea. And quite often I found myself going to accessories. So I like to design the whole outfit and the accessories to go with the outfit, which doesn't leave me a lot of time, especially deadlines, but that's something I'm going to definitely be exploring more in the future, is accessories and print work. I love doing print because everything is technically been done already. There's always gonna be t-shirts, there's always gonna be pants, coats, jackets, they're pretty much standard, but the print is what I find really makes things stand out and unique and truly make them one of a kind. So print work is really where I put my focus and I spend most of my time on. So that's how I like to make my stuff unique. I studied at London Met. Was there for like 2 years because I did a H&D before that. So it was topping up, but then COVID hit. So I had to take a break in between before I came back to finish. So it was longer than expected, but finally finished, so I'm happy. So a couple of years ago, I wanted to go to Coventry. I went there for a year, but I didn't. Was it one? I think one project I didn't finish. So but they didn't do a program to do it during the summer. I would have had to stay an extra year to finish that one project and then go on to the second year. And it was just like, it was too much. So I did do it out for a year, did do it at Coventry. I loved it there because it's different. It's sort of country. Like the closest place was Birmingham and all the shops will close at 5. So it was a nice difference just to have that taste of the country life. It was really nice. I think living in London influenced it, I'd say quite a bit, because London is so busy. There's always something to see and somewhere you can actually go. So I sort of started my my artist eye in college. When I started studying fashion, it was like there was drilled into you, go to these museums, go to these exhibitions, see them, because like you can see a picture online, but seeing it in real life is completely different. You notice different things, and I found that, so that encouraged me to explore London. Where before that, it was pretty much, I'm more of a homebody. I like to be at home in my own space, just relaxing and just being with family. And with London, there's always something to see because not everything's in London, but there's a majority of things you can actually see in London. So it's about traveling and seeing things and coming across spaces you didn't even know existed. So that really did influence me a lot to just be out there and just seeing things around me, and it's really quite fun. It's just like, it's always like a little adventure. You don't know what would inspire you, or a little detail or something like that. I always find that amazing. Yes, my brand is Diamondsz Manor. I came up with that name when they was talking about branding, and I was like, what's your brand name? And I was bouncing around ideas. And I come from a family of gamers, so every time I had to come up with a username or something, it was always had diamond in it. But diamond was always taken, so you had to be diamond something something. So I was like playing around with that. So it's always had some form of diamond in it. So I was like, diamonds definitely. But then I was like, my brand is sort of where I'm aiming it at. The sort of, you know, clothes and accessories I produce, it's more, not exactly luxury, but it's like mid-luxury sort of tier where I'm aiming for, because I like to use quality fabrics, quality prints. I like to get everything made. I make it by hand, and I like to source things as much as I can from London. So I get my stuff printed in London. I go around, it's just, well, I'm British, I was born and raised here. So it's like, this is me, it's a big part of me. So I would like to support the industries in my area. So I try to get everything as much as possible from London, and I make it by hand. So it's definitely made in London. So that's where I was just like, and I quite like get my inspiration from our history. So I find I'm most inspired by the 1700s. Their clothing just, it's amazing. It really speaks to me. So back there, they lived in these grandiose houses. They had manors, they had lords and ladies. So I put them together and I came up with Diamondsz Manor, and I feel that that signifies everything what I do, my history, where I get my inspiration from. So that's my brand. Well, my latest collection, I call it Simplified Animals. I got that inspiration from pretty much the English weather. It's very unpredictable. Sunny one minute, the next time it's raining. You never quite know. You try to be prepared. It looks like it's gonna be warm, it's cold outside. It's just like, it's all a big fluctuation. And it was just like, we need to be prepared. We need to bring coats, or an umbrella. And it's just like, it's quite cumbersome and bulky. And I know there's pack-a-macs, those pack-away little rainwear that you can wear, but a lot of them are quite cheap, or the ones that are available, it's quite restrictive in style. And it's just like, when it's raining, your mood's already dampened. You're like, ugh, I have to wear this jacket, I'm hot, I'm everything. And it's just like, I wanted to bring a bit of fun back to that. So I got my inspiration from that. So I decided to do ponchos because they're easy, they're fun. You could get a nice big print on it. It was just something to play with. I quite love a poncho myself. I did overpants because a lot of times you can just get a poncho, you can just get a jacket, but what about your pants? Your pants are still gonna get wet. So I did overpants, and it was quite fun to play with the sizing because it has to go over your clothes. So you need it to be oversized so you can actually wear it, which was fun. And then I was just like, what else could I do to put them together? So I did a robe because they usually have jackets. And in a previous collection, I did do all-in-ones. But this time I wanted to explore the whole robes. And so I did some robes as well. So they're all designed to be folded away. Obviously you can just keep it like that. You can just wear it as a jacket, but it's just a lot of space to really have fun, to put all my prints on it. And so whenever it's raining, it's just a bit of color, a bit of fun, so that it makes you smile and makes everyone else smile. That's pretty much the basis of my designs. I just want it to be fun and happy, and that you're happy to wear it no matter what happens. So that was the inspiration behind that. Yeah, it's about sort of the carbon footprint. It's like instead of getting everything shipped from Thailand or China, all these overseas, it's about getting it as close to possible, least travel. So it's just get it made in London. So it's not traveling very far and it's not going to go very far to you. It's just pretty much minimizing that and just keeping that, supporting our economy, just supporting each other and just making it sort of like a family sort of thing. We use the same companies, we work together, they understand what I want, I can give them a call, they'll pick up, or we can sort out any issues or any last minute things instead of an email that I have to wait a couple of days if they see it. It's just a lot easier just to keep it all together. I say it's from my mum. Well, she comes from a big family. She was like 8 of them. And they played games, sort of more board games, sort of card game sort of things. And then started off with me, I think Atari. And then growing up, we had the Sega Genesis. So we played that like back in the day when there was no saves. It's like you sit down, you spend a couple of hours and you try and complete this game because then you can't come back to it. We did a lot of that. That's what we did as my memories as a childhood. We do that together. And then it was PlayStation 1, and then we got PlayStation 2, and then it was the Nintendo GameCube, the Xbox, then Xbox One now, and then the latest Xbox. So we had DS's, we had Game Boy SP. I had like the Pokemon Red, my brother had Pokemon Blue. It was just growing up, and that's what we did together as a family. We played games, we worked together, played against each other. We had Mario Party. Obviously we had some board games as well, like Monopoly and stuff like that. So that's what we did as a family to bond, because Mum just sort of raised us as homebodies, so that's just stuck with me. We just play, that's what I still like to do, just spend time with the family, play games just to relax, to spend time to bond, and yeah, it's just really stuck with me. Yes, you can stop, you can save the game. Most times save anytime, or there's a checkpoint you can save at least it's fun. You can stop and start it. But yeah, I still remember back in the day, it was like, no, we have a couple of hours, we've got to do this. And it's just like, we either ran out of lives, which mostly happened because we were quite young. So it was quite hard. Those games were not easy. I'll say I have a group. I think I've always liked party games like Mario Party. These are the family games we would play. So I have an affinity with them. So anytime it's a Mario Party, I'm like, yes, we've got to play it. That's amazing. And another family game was Monopoly. I think the board's packed away now, but we got the Monopoly on the Xbox, so we've been playing that recently. But for the games just for myself, I tend to be Harvest Moon. I love that game so much. That's one of my favorites. One of those, anytime Harvest Moon comes out with a new game, I tend to get it. I love Harvest Moon, and by default, I like Rune Factory because it's basically Harvest Moon with fighting. So you have all those options, because my brothers are those fighting games like Gears of War, Halo, I played with them. And I like those games as if we're playing together, but it's nothing I will pick up by myself to play. So it sort of brings that together, which I love. And Sims, I have a real soft spot for Sims. I'll spend hours making my character look amazing, going into the details, the colors of everything, and then doing the details of the houses and stuff like that. That's what I love. So those are the sort of games I love. And sort of on my phone, it's mostly like time management games like Avenue Flow or hotel games where you're, yeah, or those burger games where you're making burgers and you're upgrading. I just like doing things, and if I can upgrade it and change stuff, that's what appeals to me. So yeah, those are my sort of game genres. I'll say it influenced it very much, because when I design, they will say, find out you, make it personal to you. How do you design? What makes you different from another designer? And it's just like, when I do my designs, I do my research and I'm designing, always bring it back to my childhood, my gaming background, the sort of games I like, what I love to play, what influenced me as childhood, even the TV shows I used to watch as a child. I always bring it back to that. And so my prints and everything has always been, I like to simplify things down. I like color blocking. I like just bringing it back to hand drawn. I just love that intimate part of everything. So when I design, I always bring it back to that to make it relevant to me. So it's all personal pieces that I love, that I would personally wear, which I feel is fun and gives me that nostalgic feeling. So when I design, that's what I draw from, is my childhood. That makes me feel happy and it makes it playful. And as long as it's done that, then I'm happy with the design. So it influences me very much. I'll say it was pretty much just those, it's the characters, it's the background, even sometimes the music, because when I do design, I'm always feeling like a mood, the theme about it. And it's just like sometimes an old track from a game, from one of the levels I played, and I'm like, that sums it up. And then it's sort of, when I look at my collection, I'm just like, I'm drawing it, I'm like, do these match up? And I might tweak it a little, but it's always been about sort of the retro part of my childhood. It's just the characters, the games, the colors, the music, just what stuck with me, why I love the game. It sort of brings it back, and it's like, if I can see that in my designs, then I know, yeah, this is it. This is this is it. If it's not, I'm like analyzing what needs to change and just really doing that. And then obviously sourcing the fabric and the trimmings and stuff like that. It's always not quite easy, but I always try just to capture exactly what I'm looking for. And I do find it in the end, but it's always a journey in itself. Yes. Um, I tend to listen to podcasts and stuff when I'm designing, just sort of keep me going. But sometimes, like when I'm spending hours just designing and if something's just missing, or it's just like I'm starting to get tired, then I usually put upbeat music that I love, just keeps me going. But I find out sort of when I've got a theme and I've got what I'm doing and I'm trying to get it just refined, I tend to listen to the music from whatever is inspiring me. So if it's a Sonic game, then I'll have like a Sonic soundtrack playing in the background, and it's just sort of brings my mind back to the game, back to me feeling of me playing it, the levels and stuff like that. And then that tends to help me along. So it really depends sort of where I am in my designing. But yeah, quite a few different tracks and stuff like that is what I listen to. I'd say as a whole, so I can't really pick out anything particularly this, but it's as a whole. But I always make sure I keep my eye out, see what's news going on. I like to keep an eye out about different exhibitions and just really just going to see new things, go to a museum for an exhibition, look around the rest of the place just to see what catches my eye. It's just about traveling really and just seeing new things and experiences. It as a whole inspires me, but I find when I do travel, which I don't travel much, but when I do travel, just see different places also opens me up to different designs, like how they build, how they express themselves artistically is really quite amazing. So I really should travel a bit more, to be honest, but I just like the whole experiences as a whole really inspire me. I look around, definitely, because there's like pretty much artists coming up all the time. So I always look around, but there's like some I really just always draw back to. I think the first was Roy Lichtenstein. He was pretty much one of the first artists that I just instantly loved. I looked at his work and I was like, that's amazing, that's so me, that's just everything. I love his work. Sadly, not all of his, you can't really go and see a lot of his work. Most of the things you want to see of his, you have to view it by appointment, and it's not really that big, but you can see a lot more of his work online. But I do love his work. I love how it's simplified. I like how it's sort of like comic strip. I like all of that, so that has really heavily influenced me. And another artist I really quite like is Keith Haring. I love how he is. I love how he's quite simple and it's fun, it's quirky. It can also be a comic, and it's just like really simple. And I draw a lot of inspiration from that, because when I do my stuff, my prints, my everything, I try to make it as simple as possible. And I'm just like, want it to, you look at it, you can sort of see what it is, but it's just fun and it's just there. It's not ridiculously too detailed, too realistic. I just like it to be fun and drawing and stuff like that. So I tend to get my work as bare to the basics as I can. Working from home, it has its plus, because I'm at home. I'm at home, all my home stuff is there. I could stop working and just start lunch, start dinner, just it's sort of relaxed, and I love the atmosphere. While obviously working outside of home has its benefits, because you're sort of out of work, you're out of your home life, so you're just focused on work. It's finding that balance at home, because I'm just pretty much starting out, because I've just graduated, so I'm just getting everything set up at the moment. It will be really cool to be able to get a studio so I can work, because when I do my pattern cutting, I need a lot of space. So I tend to go to my family's house, because they got a little bit more space for pattern cutting and stuff like that. So I do that, and I can still luckily go to my university, because they help, was it for 3 years, they said? 3 years I'll be able to access the library, access the pattern cutting tables and stuff like that. So that is really handy. But I'm just trying to get everything set up as much as possible. But definitely in the future, I would like to get my own studio, so I'll have it all pretty much there for myself. Well, at the beginning, when you're just researching, it's pretty much drawing and computer work, research and stuff like that. So it's pretty much, I can do that anywhere in the living room. I tend to just sit on my Mac, draw, I tend to do all of that. It's just usually I have to say to myself, okay, I'm gonna start working, I'll give myself about 3 hours, but if inspiration takes me and I'll be there for 5 hours, that's perfectly fine. But it's pretty much, that's being strict on myself and just like this is the time now. Just get to it, get working, and just go with it, to be honest, because I don't want to get distracted, start doing something else, and like I didn't do as much, and then I'm like, oh, I should have done that. So I just be strict with myself, do that as much as possible, and then once that's done, take a break, do home stuff, family life, do all of that, and then come back to it. Especially like if inspiration hits me, I make a note, and sometimes try and carve out that little extra time for myself. But it's pretty much just been do this now and just go with it. Well, sometimes some days are easier than others. Sometimes I've just like got a lot of home life stuff to do, and it's just like I've got to do that. And it's pretty much sometimes you have to ignore everything else and just focus, which is hard because once you're done focusing, all of that stuff is sitting there waiting for you to start on it, which gets overwhelming at times. But it's pretty much just trying to sort of keep a balance, but sometimes it's just have to ignore all else and just go for it. That's what I find I have to do sometimes. Favorites to work with. I quite like linen and strong fabrics like cotton, denim, twill. Not like the denim for the jeans, but sort of like the twill, the toughness of them. I quite like those robust fabrics to work with, because usually when I'm doing my research and I link it back, sometimes they'll say back in this time period, they used just linen, or it was like a hemp, or it was like whatever fabric. So I try to bring that forward to what I'm using to sort of give it the sort of the feel, because when I'm making the pattern, I want it to be reminiscent of what I've got my inspiration from. But it's mostly those type of fabrics I use in my work. Obviously with my latest collection, it was rainwear, so it had to be waterproof / water resistant as possible. So I use that. So that's pretty much what I go for. I do use wool sometimes, some type of wool blends, and I just pretty much get samples. I get like a load of samples till I find the right one, because there's just so many blends out there nowadays, and one linen from one place and the linen from another place will be completely different. So it's just pretty much finding sort of the inspiration, what they use, and then searching a load of places. I've got like so many sample books at home. I just make my own sample folders and I just keep going back to them. And if I don't feel like I have enough, or I see something I quite like but it's not quite right, I start searching up on that. So yeah, it's a lot of samples, but pretty much robust fabrics tend to be what I'm using.
As I've been watching a show
Yes.
over the weekend, at the end of it, you said the nature has and animals has been a massive inspiration for you, or big inspiration.
Yes.
I don't know how you want to say it, but can we talk about that?
Yes. When I do my designs, there's usually characters in my designs. I like to do a story, because my prints are pretty much my story characters, so I tend to draw out my own comics. So in one of my designs was the robe with the full body print, so it's all a story, because that was based in Noah's Ark. So basically I went to the Bible, I read Noah's Ark, and then I broke it down into scenes. So I did that, and then I drew out characters for it, and then I started to draw them by hand, which I translated onto the computer with Photoshop, and I put out all the designs, lay it out perfectly. Once that's done, I save it, and then I do one with a color version, and I put all the characters together, and then for each piece I draw out specific characters So two of my robes, they had the whole story on it. One was coloured, one was without, and the others were animals. So I drew an animal from, there was a lot of animals, it was Noah's Ark. So I had a lot of animals to choose from, but like these characters, I'll draw each one, so each piece is based on a different animal. So I do it that way, so that way I get my inspiration for the colour, I get that, the prints, everything. I just try to give each of my pieces is a different character, and it's just, it makes it fun, it makes it colourful, it makes it, you can mix and match, and it has a lot of character in it. So I just really like my pieces to tell a story and to have a theme, and that's really what I do when I design. You can find me on Instagram, which is my first name, Reunne, Reunne. That's my Instagram. I am in the process of putting my own brand Instagram together, which would be Diamondsz Manor. So once that is set up, I will announce it on my Instagram page, so you guys know to come follow me on the other one. So I'm in the middle of that. I'm setting up a website as well. I have got a talented graphic designer to help me with that. He is helping me, so I'm hoping definitely before, the aim is before Christmas, before Christmas to have it set up, and that would be some form of Diamondsz Manor. Again, I will put it on my Instagram page, everything about that, and I'm also on Facebook, Reunne Diamondsz, DIAMONDSZ. I'm on Facebook as well, so you can reach me from either that and LinkedIn, basically. I'm all there.